You're all back. Thank you so much, friends, for joining in meditation. So today, we are going to start a new chapter from the book SETH Speaks, the Eternal Validity of the Soul. So it's chapter 12, Reincarnational Relationships. So heading of the chapter, Reincarnational Relationships. So in this chapter, Seth Master explains how we are bounded, how we are making relationships with each other. So what's the reason? So there will be a reason behind, there's a cause, right, between to select a person to in our life or to be in that relationship. So we'll get to know all these in this chapter. So throughout reincarnational existences, so our births, our cycles of reincarnation. So what happens actually? So in this cycle, we expand our consciousness, we expand our ideas, understandings, perceptions, and values, isn't it? So we break, if needed, so we break our belief systems and the rules which we are self-adopted, which self-adopted restrictions. So we break all that. So eventually we grow spiritually, experiencing the unlimitedness, from limitedness to unlimitedness. In the last chapter, we have discussed that when we complete all our incarnational cycles, that means we realize ourself, that we are multidimensional self, and whatever the characters, the roles, or whatever the births we have taken, even that self also understand, that each self also understand that we are that. So we are something great. We are not limited to this character, or we are not limited to this body. So it's the understandings. So that's the reason all the cycles we are expanding. So instead of, we can say, like not expanding, but we are experiencing the expansion of ourselves. So which is already that, which is already existing. We eventually we will experience that greater existence. So for that we have to break our boundaries. So break our belief system from limitedness to unlimitedness, from infinite to like infinity to the infinity. We travel towards the infinity, and we will experience the infinite. So Seth Master says, your rate of learning depends entirely upon you. So my learning depends upon me, but not on others, isn't it? Now here, however, like when we think from limitedness or rigid concepts of good and evil, so duality, when we think from this limitedness to narrow ideas of a nature of existence, so will follow us for several lives. So these limited thoughts, the narrow mindedness, these we will carry for several lives, unless we do not choose to be spiritually and psychically flexible. That means the spirituality, what's the spirituality is? Spirituality is realizing ourselves, and also spirituality is to knowing the truth. The journey towards the truth is spirituality. Spirituality is not something which is related to a religion, related to some rituals. Spirituality is knowing the truth. So here Seth Master says, unless we are flexible, unless we break that limitedness, so we bound to take these lives many times with these ideas. What ideas? With these limited ideas. these rigid ideas. So these rigid ideas, how it acts. Okay, so okay, an individual, he is having some limited thoughts, some limited ideas of, and he is bound to his belief system. Then what happens? Is there is anything wrong? Nothing is wrong here. But here he says, Seth Master says, these rigid ideas will act like a leash, so that it is, so that you are forced to circle like a tied up puppy dog about a small radius. If you, for example, if a small puppy is tied up with a rope, okay, with a rope to something pole, so it will move, obviously it will move, but to the limited radius, right? To the limited radius, it will circulate only within that radius to the length of that rope. So that means, think, place ourselves in the place of, in the place of puppy. Just imagine ourselves in the place of puppy, and that rope is like limited belief system, limited ideas. So we circulate only with that idea. Circulate means we reincarnate, so with the same ideas, with the same thoughts. So Seth Master says to be flexible in the sense, so to break that limitedness. Slowly we have to understand, we have to travel towards the truth. So we circulate in the same loop, isn't it? We circulate in that same loop, in that same pattern, or we can say. So we incarnate with the same patterns again and again, with the same concepts, with the same confusion, with the same doubts and anxiety. See, unless we learn, breaking the belief system, breaking the limitedness from means we need to learn. Unless we learn, unless we break that pattern, we can't enter into, we can't that we can't break that reincarnational cycles. So so we don't take birth alone. So here Seth Master so says, it's about relationships in this chapter, isn't it? We don't take birth alone, so we don't come alone here. We don't so we plan a soul plan. We plan some people who act as friends, families, who are very close relationship, who are very close to us. And also we do have people in our life who are not very much close, so but we have certain relationship, so they have certain role in our life, but we are not close enough. We are not close as friends and family. So here so we we choose those souls, we choose that relationship. So this individual will attract people who are having same concepts just like him. Attract in the sense, so it's a like-minded. So even in the, when we try to learn about even the planning, soul planning, at the soul planning level also, we attract only those souls who will match to that frequency, right? Who will match, who has the same concepts, who has the same ideas. Now for example, so here see, there are A, B, C, D. We'll take like that. So these A, B, C, D. So the A and B. Let's split into two. So A and B. So A and B reincarnated. Okay. So they have some lessons in their lives. So they both, and B and B just grown a bit advanced than A. That means has evolved better than A. Then this B will choose another circle, another souls. And now this, what will happen to A? This A will choose from D and C, will choose D and C who are having the same pattern. Unless this, even though D and C also reincarnate, again this A will choose another, E and F, the same. So that's the reason Seth Master said, learning depends entirely, is depends on us. Learning is depend. So when we learn, we will choose another better frequency. We'll go into another better frequency. We will experience new lessons, new learnings. Otherwise, the same class, same lessons, we will repeat it for multiple times. So here, this individual will attract people who are having same concepts just like him, and also here. So we have planned already, we have planned there. So here, when we reincarnate, we attract only those people in our lives. And here, again, Seth Master's statement, we create our own reality. So we should not blame others, friends. We should not blame others for our realities. It's us who have to learn. So it is very, very, very important to change the thinking pattern. To uh, to to question, we have to question our belief system. So our steps must lead to the nature of existence, that is truth. Okay, so so Seth Master says, suppose if you form a guilt in your mind, then it is reality for you. Of course, the reality. If we form anything, even not only guilt, if we are having certain emotions, so that emotion will become our reality. Okay, so he has taken here an example of guilt. Suppose if you form a guilt in your mind, then it is a reality for you, and you must work it out. So if it is true, if we are carrying certain guilt in a real, then we have to work it out. We have to work on it, right? But he says, many of you form guilts for which there is no adequate cause, and you saddle burden. So you saddle yourselves with these guilts without reason. See, like some like over emotional, so they overthinking. So if it is not if it is not a lesson of guilt, also if it is not necessary to carry a guilt, but but they but they so there is no there is like many they form that they think they are carrying that guilt, but actually there is no reason for there is no reason to feel guiltiness. So here you can say like how ignorance, right? It's ignorance. For example, say like years back, earlier, my cousin, so she is then studying +2 or something. So she has to take her grandmother, so grandmother or same. So she has to take grandmother to a hospital for a normal checkup. So and hospital is also is very nearby. It's just about 10 minutes uh, to 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 reach to the hospital. So she is having some important work, and appointment time is and we're waiting for the appointment time. So it is getting late for the appointment. So my grandmother, she is calling my cousin to come bit early so that we can reach to hospital soon. But she's having some work, she's doing some work in her room, and said, just give me 2 minutes. So before she arrives there, in that 2 minutes, grandmother left her body. Okay, so and it's shock for her. So she thinks like she is the reason for grandmother's death, but no one is responsible for one's death. She carried that guilt, and she locked herself in room for 4 days. She didn't come out. So everyone, they try to explain her, but she only thinks like maybe maybe just but the 2 minutes, maybe she should listen to her, to grandmother's words. Maybe she is listen to her, so that she can so that it won't happen, it wouldn't happen, right? So she could save grandmother if she reaches on time. But this is what happened, and she carried that guilt for days. And luckily, so my uncle, so he understands about death. He knows the concept of death, as he is also a meditator then. So then he explained to my cousin that nothing is done any wrong from her. So she's not the reason for her death. It's the time, like, so that's what so as she is not aware of the concept of death, as she is not aware of the reality, understanding the reality, she carried that guilt. So likewise, if, and also it's not like we should ignore. So we should do our best with good intentions. We should do our best and leave the rest which is beyond our hands. Do not carry this. So Seth Master says this illusion of carrying a guilt will become another reality unless we drop that. It is, if it is really guilt, yes, we should learn. If it's not, if just it's an illusion, so then this illusion will become another reality and it will carry on for births. Like in this is how we carry certain emotion from our past lives. And to clear that guilt, we create another character in our life to learn that lesson, right? So, and also it's very important and strong statement given by Seth Master. In your dimension of activity, means in our minds, right? So there appear to be a wild assortment of evils. So let me tell you that who hates an evil merely creates another evil, isn't it? Who hates an evil? Evil is not something like spirits, but evil is something like emotion. So people, it's telling about he is defined, he is pointing towards a certain people. So if we think the person is bad, if we think that we have this person is not at all good, or thinking the same thing, so we create certain people in our lives. So if we carry hate, if we carry hate towards a person, so we still carry we still create certain people who hate us. And also it's a self-reflection here, friends. So if we are not happy with ourselves, if we criticize, if we criticize us, same thing we experience from others. The same thing, it's like mirror. Others, so other people who are in our life are mirrors to us. So they blame us, they criticize us, they point us, they find out every time, they just just spot our mistakes. So it's in ourselves that we have to correct, not in others. So when an individual has these narrow ideas, he often feels difficult to perceive that all events work toward creativity. So all events, what we experience, are the results of our mind, results of our self. So we are creating that. And also, or to trust that what is happens from its own nature. It no one he who creates this type of reality, he won't believe that he is creating by himself. And it's hard to understand for him. Now, instead of trying to understand, friends, instead of trying to understand other people, so it is better to focus on ourselves. So why many we think, we used to, or why this person is behaving with me like this. So it's like complaint. We raise complaints or we judge other people. So whatever we give, that's what another statement, right? Whatever we give to the universe, we receive that. We receive that in any form, right? So like here we can um, we can take an example of a musician who play the instruments which has strings on it, okay, like guitar, violin or something like instruments. What they will do, they will adjust the strings according to the tune, right? You know, I think you know it. They will adjust it, adjust the strings. Either they need to tight or they need to a bit loose. So they search for in that from that five or six strings or four. So they will search for that particular string which needs to be tightened or bit loose to get the tune right. And this, what is the tune here? The sound. The sound is an output, isn't it? The same applies to us. We have to do a little bit adjustments within us. So if we think we are right, okay, if we think so, some many people, so they came across like, see, I have not even harmed an ant. So I had need nothing, I didn't harm to any people. But what about the past lives? And what about the thinking? What about the carrying which we are carrying still? If we are, if might be carrying some certain emotions, right? So we have to do that little adjustment like that musician. If we think we are right, then check other strings. We have to check other strings in us. So some needs little work and some needs to be like deleted or some needs to be removed, isn't it? uh, the same example, right? If a string is tight enough, okay, but it has rust, so obviously we need to replace it. So this is how we need to work on ourselves. Always focus on ourselves. So we have to break that pattern. If we are still in that complaint zone, if we are still feeling anxious, if we are still feeling pain, if we are still feeling suffering, or if we are still in that complaint zone, in that judgment zone, or commenting, or not happy of that reality, then there is something that we need to work on it, right? So next, Seth Master also says like, uh, there is a statement from the Bible. If you just if someone attacks you, you have to show the other cheek, isn't it? Uh, Turn the other cheek if you are attacked. Turn the other cheek if you are attacked. So that means here it's not like we are surrendering ourselves. The statement, the hidden meaning here says that the other people who are attacking they need to understand that they are harming themselves. Turning the other cheek around means, so we have to understand that the attacker is harming himself. It's not the person. That means there is no tit for tat. There is no tit for tat. Eye to an eye. It's like this. These are some phrases. Eye to an eye or tit for tat. So if we carry that, if we carry certain hate feeling, if we carry that anger or that certain emotions, lower emotions. So when we carry that, so unless we drop that, unless we learn, we will continue to carry for multiple births. And this is how we choose people, the same who people who have the same concepts. And here, if we turn, if he said, if we turn the other cheek, okay, you have turned the other cheek, but intention is something different. It's about like pseudo spirituality. Okay, it's not something pure. It's not some correct it's not from the wisdom or correct understanding. Though you show the other cheek, you still make a bond with that person. Okay, and yeah, this is how we are making certain relationships. And yes, we do have we know that there is a gap, there will be a time between, like there is a time between births, right? There is a life after death. So unless this individual understand and learns the lesson from his or her past life, he will carry, so that individual will carry again and again. So we have to use that period. So Seth Master said, use that period in between lives. As we understand now, why not we start now? Why we need to wait for that time? So let's focus on ourselves, our thoughts, our actions, right? And stop blaming or complaining others. Whatever whatever we need to whatever we are experiencing, we have to believe that we are creating that reality, right? So we will continue in the next session some more interesting concepts, friends, um, about how we are like choosing a family of friends. Yeah, thank you so much for joining and listening. But if you have anything you want to share, you can unmute yourself. Yeah, answer.
Very beautiful wisdom, Shardagar. It's a continuation of what we keep learning through SETH Master. How much importance it is given to the strong ideas, basically our belief patterns that we ourselves create, and how these strongly created belief patterns create our own realities. So, the beautiful example of the leash that we put upon our own self, and we just roam within that space of the leash, is basically all the ideas that we put into our mind. And if we look into ourselves, every idea, every thought is in a way a leash. So, what happens before birth, for example? Who is responsible for this birth? What is happening after death? Or what happens in life, various things that we believe to be true, limitations on truth in itself. Only this is truth, that is not truth. What others say is not true. So there are so many things, or what I say is only truth. What I know is only true. So all these are the leashes that we are experiencing for our own self. We are limiting our own self. A leash is a limiting. It limits our exploration. It limits our freedom. So we have to become aware of all these leashes, and indeed, everyone have them. There is no one without them. There are very few without them. And in the path of becoming that few, we have to realize to our own self what are those belief patterns that are restricting our own experience. So, books like this, they really help in recognizing our own limiting things that we put for our own self. So they are the guides. These books are the guides that awaken us to see a grander reality. And by the way we see into the grander reality, we will realize when we look back, we have already released our own self from these leashes. So it's not about learning what happens after death. It's not about learning what happens before birth. But as we learn these, without we realizing, we remove these leashes. So that's the magic that happens. So that's why it's important to listen to every wisdom, because they will release us in many different ways. Indirectly, we release many other things without noticing. And the example of guilt you gave of your cousin, it is very true. Every guilt is a profoundly accepted truth, which is not really a truth in many cases. So nothing is a mistake. Everything is a mistake when learning is missed. How does learning come? When we are open to see the truth, everything becomes a learning. So it's a beautiful sharing. Thanks a lot, and thanks everyone.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Namrata ji, here, yes, it is on our YouTube. Here, Ram sir has given the link. Share the link in the chat. So anyone would like to? Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Namrata ji. Anyone would like to share, friends? Okay. So we'll all meet the next session then. We'll listen to some more interesting sharings. SETH Master. SETH, thank you and have a great day. Namaste all.